Welcome back to another video and welcome back to my channel. I'm happy to have you again for another conversation. If you're here for the first time in this channel, I share content on personal, professional and career growth, of course with a view to help you build a rewarding and fulfilling careers. And of course from time to time I have different professionals, or I host different professionals in this channel to have meaningful workplace conversations. And if you're a returning viewer, I'm happy to learn that this channel has added value to you, and welcome back. Of course, thank you for watching and finding this content relevant. So guys, in today's video, I want to continue with a series of interview questions. I've done previous videos on how to answer some specific interview questions that give a lot of job seekers headache. So from the reactions and from the feedback that I received, most of my viewers, and or rather most of you guys, requested that I continue with this series. So in today's video we will answer another question, or we will address another interview question, and this is to help you understand how to explain employment gaps either in your resume or during a job interview. So guys, today's video focuses on how to explain employment gaps or career breaks for whatever reasons during a job interview or in your resume. So if this is something that you like to learn, if you've been struggling with how to answer this question, if you've been on a career break for whatever reasons and you find getting back to the employment space difficult, and each and every interview you've gone to, you've probably not missed out this question, then this video is definitely for you. So let's get into the video. So first, I would like us to start by just getting to understand what are employment gaps and what are some of the reasons that causes an employment gap. So basically, an employment gap it occurs during a time when you're not in a formal employment. And this just brings me to my next point on what would cause an employment gap. So there are many causes of an employment gap, and some of the common ones which I'm going to share in this video include stepping out, or rather taking a break to take care of a child. And this happens mostly for new moms. So you've just gotten a baby and maybe you decide that now this is a good time that I want to sit home and be a stay-at-home mom, maybe for 1 year, for 2 years, just to take care of my baby before I go back to work, which is absolutely okay. Because you realize that most of the time when people step out of employment, or when people take a career break, they really take career breaks to take care of some other important aspects of life, like what I've just mentioned, taking care of a newborn baby, or taking care of a family. Taking care of your family. Another reason that could see someone have a career break is when they step out to take care of a sick family member or a sick loved one. For instance, if you have somebody who is struggling from a prolonged illness that necessitates, or rather that definitely needs extra care, then you decide to leave work to go and take care of them. Another reason that someone will step out of employment is maybe due to travel reasons. Maybe you're traveling out of the country, maybe due to relocation. If let's say your spouse or if your partner is relocating and you're having to move together as a family. And of course, some of the reasons is due to work related. If you're working in an environment which was really not conducive, and this narrows down to a toxic work environment, a toxic boss, a bad culture that did not align with you, and it gets to a point you say, because this compromises what you believe in, you decide to get out of employment. And at the end of the day, for whatever reason you step out of employment, this creates a career gap, or this creates an employment gap for the time that you're going to be out of a formal employment. And the reason that I've decided also to make this video is because even from experience, even from interaction with people who've had an employment gap, or who've stepped out of their of employment for some time, people say, or rather they agree, that it gets very difficult to get back to employment after a break. And what will make it difficult, from where I see it, from my own opinion, is because the employer really wants to understand what was the cause of that break and what value will you be able to add, especially if it is a prolonged break. So you can have two types of break in your career. For instance, let's say you've been out of employment for 1 year or 2 years, then you get a job. So let's say you're 1 year into a new job, and previously, before getting that job, you're just returning from a break of 2 years. So that does not really bring a lot of headache. The one that brings a lot of headache is when you're looking for a job, when you've been on a prolonged career break, and you're looking for a job when you currently, or when at that time you're not employed, or you're not in active employment. So I'm just going to share two strategies that I believe you can use to answer this question during your job search, or even to put the bit of this career gap in your CV or in your resume, so that it does not work to your disadvantage. First of all, it is important to know that when you're looking for a job, when you have a career break, it does not by any chance reduce your value. It does not by any chance reduce your ability, unless you've not been developing yourself during that period. But if you've been engaging yourself in activities that develop you, that will also just see a few examples in the course of this video, then it shouldn't really make you feel like your value has been reduced. So if you're looking, the first step you need to ensure is that if you're out of employment, or if you're on a career break and you're currently doing something, let's say you're on a career break, you're on a break from formal employment, and within this period, maybe 1 year or whatever period of time that you're out of work, you're doing something, let's say like offering your services on a consultancy basis, you're doing a freelance work, and you're still building on your skills, you're still utilizing the same skills that you could use if you're in formal employment. Then the first thing you need to begin with is by updating that experience in your resume. So let's say if you're an accountant, you're not in formal employment, but on the side you're doing consultancies, you do tax consultancies, you're doing other accounting work consultancies on a freelance basis. At the end of the day, you're utilizing your skills, and at the end of the day, you're also building on your skills. So you should treat this as work experience. So go in and update this in your resume from whatever period that you started, and you need to be very specific in terms of what type of clients have you been working with, what type of services have you been offering to clients, and what type of skills have you been able to, or have you gained within this time that you're offering consultancy. Because at the end of the day, what I say is that if you're constantly building on your skills, you're doing something that is valuable, and that should be counted as work experience. So then when you decide to get back to formal employment, or when you decide to embark on job search, you're able to reference this as work experience by clearly highlighting the skills that you've gained, by clearly highlighting the specific work or projects that you've been able to work on, and by clearly highlighting how you've been able to add value to both your clients and yourself within this period of time. Another thing is that when you on a break, and maybe you decide to go on a personal development journey, like maybe taking a short course, going back to do your MBA, or doing maybe your higher diplomas and all that, you need to include that as part of an activity, or a value adding activity that you've been doing during the break. So most of the time, where I'm really putting this point across, is that most of the time I find people who've been on a break doing consultancy work, actually making even money out of it, but when they go back to look for a job, they leave that gap without indicating that they were doing something during that break. So it is important to indicate whatever it is that you've been doing during that break. Another thing that you need to consider, and another mistake that I see most people do, is that they avoid to mention that gap. For instance, and this happens mostly when someone left their previous job on not so good terms. And when I say on not so good terms, I mean maybe if you're terminated, if you had maybe if you had disciplinary issues. So let's say now we're in 2024, you left your job back in 2023, maybe you've just been out for 6 months and you feel that this is a short period of time. I find some people risk not just coming out clearly and saying that currently I'm not employed. They go ahead and lie and say I'm still at this employer's, and at the end of the day a background checks will be done, and then the employer, the potential employer, realizes maybe in the course of the recruitment process that you're currently out of employment, and that automatically questions on your integrity. So really the worst or the least you should think of doing is lying that you're still at an employer's place, or you're still in that current job if really you're not you're not currently employed. So you need to say the truth. You need to specify when you left that job or when the employment ended, and you need to stay truthful. And even if you're asked in the interview how to address this in the interview, mention the reasons why you left. So I know you'll be wondering, why is it that an employer focuses so much on an employment gap? It is just the fear of everyone. When you meet a potential employer, you also have your fears as a job seeker. That's why we conduct research about the company, because you want to be sure this is a reputable company. You want to be sure they are stable, the business is stable, and you're not going to get there and maybe get the business struggling and you lose your job. You want to be sure about your stability in that organization. You want to be sure about issues on their culture, working conditions in that company, and so on. That's the same way an employer also want to be sure that, yes, if you left your previous job, you did not leave on maybe disciplinary related issues. You are not terminated because of a criminal action or something. So the employer also want to be sure. That is why you find it is very easy for an employer to hire somebody who's still currently working, because they believe this is somebody who's stable, they're currently working, and we just want to pick them from this employer and bring them to also to come and add that value in our organization. So if you're wondering why would an employer emphasize and stress so much on wanting to know, wanting to have me explain my career gaps, there you have the reason. They just want to be sure that you did not leave your previous employer on a bad term. You are not a person of questionable character. Another reason that will make an employer really want to understand the reason for your career gap is because they want to really know if during this period, what is it that you've been doing that ensures, or rather that has built on your skills. Because also, truth be told, if you stay home or if you stay away from work for too long without doing anything, for some reasons you can begin to lose your skills. You lose touch with the industry trends, and an employer just want to be sure you still have your value intact, and you can still deliver on what on the expectations, or rather on what they want you to deliver on as before you left employment. So they want to be sure you're still the right person, you still have the right skills, your skills are still intact, your value is still intact. So they just want to be very sure that you're going to be able to deliver even in their job. So those are some of the reasons why an employer would like to know why, the causes for your career gap. So from this, guys, you realize that having a career gap is really not a bad thing. Stepping out of employment to take care of, for whatever reasons, is really not a bad thing. At the end of the day, it all depends on how do you take, or rather how do you go through that transition. What is it that you're doing in that period that you're at home, or in that period that you're not in formal employment? So for example, if you're left to take care of, and another thing also, you can also step out of formal employment, maybe if you've been in an organization for too long and you feel there's no growth. So when you feel there's no growth, you can step aside just to re-strategize and just to understand which direction do you want your career to take, and what are the actions that you're going to put in place to ensure that your career just aligns with what you want. Yeah, so those are the reasons that will really make you step out of formal employment. So when you're answering this question, for example, if for instance you left because you felt that you'd stayed in one role for so long, and really you've looked across the organization, you've have a conversation with your boss, but you see there's no opportunity for growth. So you can, when putting it in your resume, you can put it as a career gap, and of course maybe between 2020 to 2023 or 2023 to 2024 you stepped out of employment to re-strategize on your career. You can say something like, when you're asked in an interview, I had gotten to a point in my career where I felt I had learned everything in my current job, and after having a conversation with my boss and my employer, there was really no opportunity for me to grow within the organization. So the only option that was available is for me to grow externally by seeking more challenging opportunities. However, during the time that I was looking for a job, I was not able, or rather I did not manage to secure an employment externally in the positions that I felt will align with my careers. So I decided to step out to re-strategize and to see, or rather to get a well-defined direction where my career will take next. So now I am ready, and I feel that this job aligns to what I believe will take my career to the next level. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that you left because you felt there was no opportunity for you to grow. If you left a job because maybe your partner was relocating and you had to relocate, it's just okay to be truthful and say, while I was really in an exciting position, an exciting role, and an exciting stage within an exciting part of my career, I decided to step out of my work, or I decided to leave my previous job because my family had to relocate, or I had to relocate with my family to a new country or to a new place. So really, there's nothing wrong with saying the truth why you left your previous job, and so on and so forth. There are so many reasons that could just make someone leave employment. Not necessarily that everyone who left employment, or anyone who's having a career gap. And I think this is the myth that we need to debunk, even as recruiters, from my perspective, that when you see a resume of anyone who has a career gap, people are quick to judge, or are quick to think that this person was terminated, this person is a criminal. No, I still believe there are good recruiters. There are still people who are very rational, and people who listen, and people who don't judge job seekers on the basis of having a career gap. So if you're outside there, you have a career gap, you've been struggling to get back to employment, you've been struggling to explain this in an interview, you've been trying to hide it when you go for interviews, please, I think after watching this video, be encouraged that it's not bad to step out of employment for whatever reasons. And even if you're terminated in your previous job, it is okay to say that you are terminated. And when you're answering this question, if you're terminated, please be sure to show that you've learned from this situation, because things happen, and sometimes you realize that you were terminated because of an accusation, and while sometimes you just did the mistake. So if you did it, please be quick to admit, show remorse, and share what it is that you've learned and how you have become better, or how that experience has made you better, and how you've learned. And now going forward, of course, it is not a mistake that will repeat itself in your life again. So I hope this has helped someone, especially if you're outside there, you're having a career gap and wondering, what do I do, where do I start from? You've been encouraged, and go outside there boldly and begin looking for an opportunity. Thank you for watching, and if you're not subscribed to this channel, this is a good time for you just to click that subscribe button and put on your notification, so whenever I put a video like this one, you're notified. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.